Dariel was previously expelled from the army of the Demon King for being the most feeble. He rescues Marika and she takes him back to her community, where he learns that he has been living as a human all along. At this time, Dariel joins the Adventurers Guild in the village, where it is discovered that, because to his second chance at life and his newfound abilities, he is well suited to all human fighting styles. Daryl sprints ahead inside his own thoughts to check on the knockers. He's on a journey to aid the town while also gaining experience. His dad eventually comes to join him after waiting for a time. While battling the dragon, who among you can say with certainty that the other group won't be okay without him? As they were recently reconnected, he begs Dariel to let him be his support system. The chief is touched by his remarks and thankful, but Grand Barza watches the dragon blast fire everywhere with a hypothesis he refuses to accept. Saddam interrupts him, wondering how they plan to contain a beast of that kind. The lady explains that they plan to knock it to the ground instead. When she pulls her sword and leads the charge, she calls upon Zedians to provide a boost with her victory magic. She builds ramps for them to stand on, propelling them upward. Sasha capitalizes on the momentum to fire a devastating sting attack with his spear, although it has about as much impact as using a wooden toothpick to puncture a steel plate. He glances at the active hero, who is attempting to perform her trademark strike, but to no avail. She freefalls like a sitting duck as the monster counters with a claw strike, but the Wind King utilizes her power to propel her away from danger, and they land safely on a nearby wall. Nevertheless, when the smoke clears, they are once again faced by the monster. Saddam tries to deflect the fire coming out of its gaping maw with her shield, but the flames are too hot and start to melt through her armor, sending her into a panic. Fortunately, Fire Master Grand Barza is nearby and casts a spell to absorb the flames before they can cause too much harm. Grand Barza explains that the magical flame, Beast Salamandra, is what they must contend with. During that time, Dariel and his father made it to the mine's main entrance, but they are unable to proceed forward due to the fallen rubble. However, the knockers calm down a bit when they hear Daryl's voice, and Alancel, who is getting ready to blast away through the salamander, rushes over to their location. They are in complete agreement that they need to eliminate the monster blocking their path. In a first step, the two turn on their aura and dash to the front of the pack to surprise their victim. At the same time, the father and son unleash an aura blast, transforming into two ferocious dragons that swoop down on the monster. We're all watching in wonder. Daryl lands in front of the others as the monster plummets, and they are all confronted by the salamandra as it rears up again. Saturn warns him to back off since the dragon may potentially hurt him if they go any closer. Even when it roars in his face, he remains unmoved. He stands his ground, fixing the salamandra's gaze with his own, and reaches out a hand to pet it. The salamandra immediately relaxes, nuzzling up to him for a time. They no longer see a threat, but Dario remains there with his hands still extended. After the monster has retreated, the head Zebians declares the cells victorious. The woman comments that she sensed anger emanating from it. Yet, Daryl didn't pick up on that, rather, he felt a pang of nostalgia. The Grand Barza informs the chief that he must return to the castle of the Demon King. The Zedians observed as he limped along, exhausted from using all of his magical force. When Alancel suddenly leaves, the current hero is left to wonder why. Daryl then comes to help him in his efforts to free the knockers from the debris. Their gratitude for his help is overwhelming. Meanwhile, the rest are tending to the wounded guards and other humans. The commander takes one look at the destruction and feels responsible for it. Alancel notices his son's critical expression and tells him it's okay to rely on others rather than trying to do it all by himself. Anybody at the top has to rely on the help of others at some point. Daryl listens to his dad's advice. Kashida arrives with the necessary tools for the release, but they become distracted when they learn that a guild worker is still missing. When the onslaught came, they all took refuge in Daryl's brain, but during the brief interlude that followed, one of the knockers volunteered to go searching with Daryl, and Grand Barza returned to their headquarters to confront his biological son, Bashabaza. The boy is drinking tea calmly when his father arrives to face him after spotting his magic eye. When Grand Barza sees his son has entered the room of secrets, he becomes enraged and hits the wall. Because of this, Zebians is just now learning about this location. According to Bashabaza, the chamber has been tucked away inside the castle for centuries, and it is there that every hex ever created has been kept. Their forefathers dreaded the hexes because of how much greater their power is than any other form of magic in the world, so they kept them hidden. Hexes provide a method for enslaving a magical beast to the will of the caster. From the salamandra down in the pit, Grand Barza sent a messenger to find out what his son's will says. The father feels frustrated with himself for failing to see the problem sooner. His goal during his year-long journey was to locate mythical creatures. In order to complete a crucial mission, Bashabasa is eager to depart. Now he must flee. When his father mentions Dariel, he gets very irate and starts screaming at his grandfather. By doing so, he discloses his knowledge that Great Barza was present with the hero and the other humans. This person had the magical flaming beast's eye view. His father explains that this method is the hacks of spirit synchronization magic, and that it will eventually destroy the caster's mind and body. As a result, he will lose the ability to distinguish between his own identity and that of others. Grand Barza berates his kid for choosing this perilous lifestyle. The fact that he turned to hexes while a member of the Four Generals is a black mark on their honor. It's irresponsible to do this since it leaves the community vulnerable to unknown hazards. When Grand Barza realizes his son isn't cut out to be one of the Four Generals, he unleashes a ferocious fire strike on him. But, when Bashabasa summons his salamandra, it easily deflects the flames. His father yells at him to turn back as he rides away from the village atop his mystical beast, but he ignores him and continues into the town, where he hopes to find the present and prior heroes. In spite of Zebian's best efforts, he ignores her warnings that the previous hero is extremely powerful. The whole time Daryl and his knocker friends are making their way through the mine, Grand Barza is pleading with his son not to commit any further sins. The search for the missing individual causes mental instability. Before the chief can turn to escape, a voice, telling him to cease the quaking, likewise diminishes. When he turns around, he finds a talking rockhead staring back at him. The message on the door reads, "Do you know a man called Ariel?" The chief hesitates, shocked that the monster knows his name, before grabbing the knockers and attempting to flee. He tries to convince the beast it has the wrong man, but it blocks his way. The rock nutter attributes his old pal Salamandra's decision to burn his body on Dariel. Dariel says sorry, but he doesn't really see how it's his fault that he's the one the monster keeps asking about. The salamandra, the rockherd says, is a representation of the caster's rage. It orders Stereo to produce an organ that humans recognize as mithril. As the chief pulls out his sword, he is struck by its quality and realizes the man must be formidable. As a result, it rewards him by removing some of the shackles from his sword's design, which is a significant improvement. In its official introduction, the creature reveals itself to be the magical ground beast Gigantomachia, and it tells him that the village would become a battlefield before vanishing into the walls of the surrounding mountains. They track out the missing individual as well, but Dariel is unconvinced by the caution. After feeling a pang of nostalgia, he receives a call from Ranbarza, who informs him that Bashabasa is in charge of Salamandra. To prevent his stepbrother from bringing about calamity by eliminating the heroes and anybody affiliated with them, he tells him about the hexes. Dariel realizes he and Lux Village may be the primary targets. As Bashabasa recognized the human call, he is correct in his assumptions. The proximity of Lux's village to the mine makes it an ideal conduit for the chief to communicate with his beast. His assumption is that it is the territory under his control. He intends to destroy all of the things I hold dear. Dariel, meantime, has rounded up the locals for an evacuation that will be headed by Envil. In return for Marika's gauntlet, he thanks her. She offers him the ring they exchanged vows with as a talisman. For his own good, she shoves him off, expecting him to return. Dariel and his squad are waiting at the village entrance, and Grand echoes his mother's assertion. As Bashabasa casually welcomes Dariel from atop his magical beast, he decides it's too dark and fires a powerful fire spell, turning the area into a tiny sundae. As a result, he will be able to have a close look at his stepbrother. Alancel may identify the magic as the annihilation magic of Grand Barza. He starts to question if that puts Bashabasa on the same level as his respected father. When Alancel tries to charge the adversary, the strongest demon, Dariel, extends out his hand to halt him. He begs Bashabaza to cool off so they can converse, but what he really wants to know is whether or not Dariel is married. His mocking congratulations and approval of the timing are based only on the ring on his finger. He tells Dariel that he plans to kill his wife before destroying his community, since the more one has to deal with when things go wrong, the more intense the grief. The chief recalls that before Grand Barza stepped down from his job, he asked him to watch out for his son. Because he is going to unleash a barrage of punishments on Bashabaza, he mentally apologizes to Grand Barza. Dariel, declaring that he will put an end to Bashabaza, unsheathes his sword and fashions it into a whip. A dude instructs Salamandra to destroy all evidence of Dariel. To keep it from taking off, the chief cracks his whip. The Fire King is sure that Dariel won't be able to keep his position for very long, but Zebians swiftly catches up and uses her wonderful magic to strengthen his defenses. As a result, they are able to drag the creature to the ground, and Bashabaza dismounts just in time to fire a blast at his stepbrother, Dariel, who responds by pleading with everyone else to deal with the monster while he takes on his brother. The chief then pushes him far away from the village so that they can face each other. If he is angry at how the humans seized the mithril mine, he suggests they engage in trade negotiations that will end up being beneficial to both parties. Things happen this way by accident, but Bashabaza is to fault in part for the dismissal. When Dariel learns that his dislike of him has nothing to do with their shared mental state, he is taken aback. While the strongest Dariel vows to stop him, Bashabaza dreams of being the victor in the human-demon war and rising on top. The chief slashes at the Fire King, who is being blocked by the chief. He has the upper hand and forces Dariel down a precipice. Dariel's recognition of Bashabaza's strength has astonished and sickened him. So he fires a shot directly at the chief Dariel while considering the villagers. When Bashabaza come into contact with his mighty aura blast, they tend to get overwhelmed. Dariel yells at him in case he heard him. The Fire King is frustrated because he came out on the losing end. Dariel stares in disbelief as Bashabaza turns into a monstrosity under the influence of the hexes. Now the episode is over. Do not forget like and subscribe my channel for more amazing videos.